Hi, it's Amy from Cakes with Faces. Now recently I've been getting lots more questions from you guys in the comments and messages about planning your trips to Japan, just like I used to before 2020. And it's been really good to hear how excited you all are about going to Japan. There's been a few questions that have been coming up quite a bit, so I thought I'd make a video about them just in case it helps anyone else. Some of them are just general things that seem to be coming up a lot recently, and some of them are about new things like updates to the Japan Rail Pass and Visit Japan web. I always enjoy chatting about Japan, so feel free to ask in the comments if there's anything you're not sure about, and I'll always try and reply if I can, even if it's an old video. And in return, if you want to support me, have a look at my shop if you need a present for anyone. There's my new Japan calendar with the dates of Japanese festivals next year, and my Japan guidebook has more tips and advice than I could ever write out for you in the comments. So on to the questions. The first one is, do I need a guide? Guides are really expensive. I'd always recommend traveling independently so you can do your own thing. If you're worried about the language barrier, it won't stop you going around on your own. Lots of signs are in English and loads of foreign tourists go to Japan, so you won't be the first person there who doesn't speak Japanese. And with Google Maps, you're never lost. Just type in the place you want to go to and it will show you how to get there. There's apps that show you the best routes on the trains, and there's videos on my channel about how to take the metro and the bullet train. If you're thinking you want a guide to show you the best places, there's loads of resources online with places to go, things to do, and recommendations for things like places to eat. There's videos, blogs, my book has loads of ideas, and there's also the joy of just walking around and stumbling across somewhere that's really good. So save your money, you don't need a guide. The next thing lots of people have been asking about is itinerary checks. How long to spend in each place, or can I visit all these places in one day? It can be tricky to know how long to spend in each place if you've never been there, to know if somewhere's just a quick visit or if it's somewhere you'll spend half a day exploring everywhere. For example, in Kyoto at the Golden Temple, Kinkakuji, there's not really that much there. You see the beautiful view of the temple, have a quick walk around the gardens, and then that's it. Whereas at Fushimi Inari Shrine, with all the red gates, you can spend several hours doing the whole trail going up the mountain. Or you could just see the start, do the first section, and then move on. But if you did that, you'd be missing out on these sections further up the trail, beyond where most people turn back, where it's much quieter and you can have whole sections all to yourself. And that's why I recommend not cramming too much into your itinerary. Often people are tempted to cram a lot into each day because you're excited, you want to see everything. You might not be there for very long and you want to make the most of your trip. I think the best way is to have a list of must-dos that are your most important things so you can prioritise them. And then have another list of maybes that you can do if you have time. Try and group them into areas so you're not wasting time zigzagging around. Keep it flexible so you can spend more time somewhere if you're really enjoying it, or if you get somewhere else and find it's not your thing, you can move on to the next place. You'll get much more out of it if you're not rushing from place to place. You can stroll into the back streets away from the main tourist areas. You've got time to go into a cute cafe you found or explore somewhere unexpected. Although I am completely guilty of forgetting that the point of a trip is to have a good time and not to do absolutely everything. Which brings us on to the next question. Do you have a recommended itinerary for Japan? No, I don't, because I'm a big believer in doing the things that interest you, rather than everyone going to a set list of places that might not be your thing. You might have seen my videos about the top 10 things to do in Tokyo and Kyoto and whether they're worth it. I really think that just because somewhere's popular, just because someone else like me likes it, doesn't mean that you will. Maybe you like temples and history, or maybe they don't interest you, or maybe you like anime or something else. There's lots of ideas right here on my channel if you have a look through the playlists and in my book, and that's also got all the resources I use to plan my trips. Another thing a lot of people have been asking is when I'm going back to Japan. I've got a trip booked for the early springtime and I can't wait. I'm really looking forward to filming more travel videos and going to new places, and as always, I'll be filming everything to share with you. Next, there were some questions about the MySOS app and Visit Japan web. MySOS is an app for all the information required to enter Japan. You fill in your details, upload any documents like your proof of vaccination, then it gives you a coloured screen and a QR code that you can show when you arrive at the airport in Japan, and then you can just breeze through arrivals without any problems. I've heard from a few people that it seems to be working pretty smoothly and they've been on their way to their hotel within an hour of landing, which is really great. This month, MySOS is being replaced by Visit Japan Web, such a snappy name. It's a similar sort of thing for customs and immigration details when you enter Japan. Obviously, I haven't tried it myself yet, but when I do, I'll be sharing the process with you and I'll let you know how it goes. Some people have messaged me saying they're a bit nervous about it and asking whether it's mandatory or just advised. And I'd say, as it's the new system that's been created by Japan, it seems like a good idea to just follow the process and get it sorted. The last thing you want after a long flight is hassle at arrivals or having to do extra paperwork, so it seems easier to just fill it in before you go. There's instructions online with screenshots showing you step by step what to do. Now this may change in future. As it's a new system, they might update it after it's been used in real life for a while, so just keep an eye out for information from your airline. They'll have all the up-to-date details about what's required. Another thing lots of people are saying to me is flights are so expensive now, and yes, they are. I have no insider knowledge about the flight industry, but oil prices are high right now. Flights to Japan are taking a longer route to avoid places that aren't very safe at the moment. My flight from the UK is going to be 14 hours, 40 minutes. There's staffing issues with airlines. They're running smaller planes on the routes and not always as many planes. And demand is high, so they know if lots of people want to go, they can charge you more for it. And the airlines have a lot of lost income to make up for over the last couple of years. I have noticed the prices have been going up and down. I booked my flights a couple of days after they announced Japan was opening again, and since then the prices for the exact same flights went up £1,000, and then from there they went down £600. So keep an eye on prices because they do seem to fluctuate quite a bit. It is expensive, so if you want to book now, that is the situation. But keep an eye on prices, shop around, and just try and get the best deal you can. Next, should I book my hotel before I go or when I'm there? Personally, I always prefer to get it sorted before I go. I'd hate to arrive somewhere and not have anywhere to stay, or find that only expensive places are available or out of the way places, when I could have booked somewhere beforehand that I like the look of a lot more. Also, I don't want to be spending time when I'm on my trip scrolling through Expedia on my phone. But other people prefer to be a bit more flexible and choose how long they want to spend in each place and book their hotels as they go along. And maybe you're a bit more risky than I am. What I would say is consider how busy it's likely to be when you're there. If you're going at a busy time like cherry blossom season, or if it's the holidays in Japan or Golden Week, it will be busy and everywhere might be booked up. So if that's the case, it's definitely better to book in advance. Next, do I need to take cash? Do more places accept cards these days? Traditionally, Japan has been quite a cash-based society. Lots of shops and restaurants do accept cards, but some smaller places don't, like smaller independent restaurants, izakaya, those ramen bars where you order on a vending machine, and snacks kiosks. And you'll also need cash for vending machines, games arcades, and train ticket machines. They say over the last few years, contactless payments have become more widespread and payment apps have become more popular, and that's definitely something I'll be reporting back on. For myself, I'll still be taking quite a lot of cash with me as well as my cards, and do check that your cards are commission free to use abroad. I'd hate to not be able to do something or eat somewhere because I don't have the cash. Also, I bought quite a lot of yen when the exchange rate was really good, and actually it's even better now, so if you need some, that's something to think about. Of course, you can just withdraw cash from some ATMs when you're there. I wouldn't rely on that though, because there have been times when my cards didn't work abroad, even when I told my bank I'd be travelling, so I prefer to get it sorted before I go. The next question is, how do I get tickets for the new Ghibli Park? The new Studio Ghibli Park is now open on the edge of Nagoya. While Studio Ghibli in Tokyo is more of a quirky museum, the new park is an open-air attraction with buildings, trees and greenery. There's still several sections being built, but the first parts are open now and it's going to be really popular. Studio Ghibli in Tokyo sells out every day, and entry to the new park is also capped at around 5,000 people per day. So if you want to go, you should definitely book tickets. There's separate tickets for the different sections. To start with, there was a lottery to get them, but now they've changed it so it's first come, first served. So you need to be ready the moment they go on sale. At the moment, they're available on the 10th of each month. So today, the 10th of November, they're available for February 2023. There's a really useful guide on TDR Explorer about how to get them and all about the park. Next, how have things changed in this place? Is it still worth going to Harajuku or Akihabara when so many places have closed down? It is sad that places have closed over the last few years, but there's still a lot in Tokyo. In Akihabara, some of the arcades have closed or rebranded, but there's still loads of other ones, so it's not going to be empty. I'm sad that some of my favourite shops in Harajuku have closed, but new things have also opened up, and that's the point of my Japan News series, to focus on the new things that have opened. While it might not be the same as it's always been, places are always changing, so there's still loads to enjoy in Japan. Next, what's the situation with face masks? Now, wearing a mask has never actually been a legal requirement in Japan, although people have worn them there for years, even before this current situation. From what I've heard, pretty much everyone wears masks in public places, even though the current guidelines say you don't always have to. Now, no one really likes wearing a mask, but I'd say if everyone else is wearing one, it's a good idea to wear one too. You don't want to make other people feel uncomfortable, and you also don't want to give foreign tourists a bad reputation. Next, what's new with the JR Pass? The Japan Rail Pass is an excellent pass that lets you go on as many trains as you want for a set period of time, as long as they're run by Japan Rail. And you can even go on most bullet trains. Previously, you had to buy your pass from an agent. They sent you an exchange order in the post, which you take to a counter at the station in Japan to swap for the actual pass. Now, you can still do that, but there's also a new option to buy your pass directly from Japan Rail. That skips the exchange order step, so they don't send you anything in the post. You just go to the counter in Japan and pick up your pass. The advantage to buying direct from Japan Rail is you can make your seat reservations online. With the old system, if you buy through an agent, you have to go to the counter at a station or a ticket machine to make your reservations. Now, you don't have to reserve seats. There is a carriage with unreserved seats, but it's a good idea if you know when you'll be travelling, or if it's a busy time, or if you're in a group and you want to make sure you can all sit together. And it doesn't cost anything. Making your reservations online seems easier. You could just do it on your phone in your hotel room, but you do still need to go to the station to pick up your seat reservations. They give you a little card. Also, if you buy your pass directly from Japan Rail with the new system, it does cost slightly more. So it's more convenient, but you pay a bit more for it. So I'll leave it up to you to decide which is best for you. Another update is you can now use your JR Pass at the automatic ticket gates. Previously, you had to go to the side, show your pass to a member of staff, and they'd let you through. But now you can just scan it at the automatic barriers, which seems like it'll be a bit quicker. And the last thing, do I have to make a reservation to take luggage on the bullet train now? This was an update in 2020. If you have oversized baggage, you have to reserve a seat that has space where you can put it, which is the seats at the end of the carriage. I always used to try and get these seats because they have a space behind them where you can put your suitcases, but now if you want to sit there, you have to reserve them. If you don't make a reservation for oversized baggage, there is a fine. You don't have to worry about this too much because all my suitcases are within the limits for oversized baggage, even the big one. And I think the size limits are about the same for what you can check in with most airlines. But if you have a big suitcase, just check the measurements. The bullet train is quite spacious. I find there's enough room to put my suitcase in front of my knees, but I'm not that tall, so that might not be the case for everyone. You can also put it on the overhead rack, which I didn't think was all that safe, but according to the advice from Japan Rail, that's what you're supposed to do. Or you could just reserve those seats at the end of the carriage and put your suitcases behind you. It doesn't cost any extra. So I hope you found that useful. I can't wait to get back to Japan and show you all these things for real. Enjoy planning your trips, and I'll see you not next week, but the week after on Thursday. Bye bye.